Do you realize colon cancer is on the rise among young people? And cancer can strike anybody, any age. We understand that. But a new study, researchers found it may have, this is on the USA Today, may also have protective benefits. I'm talking about yogurt. My daughters, they love yogurt. I have not been a yogurt guy. Maybe I should be. February is National Cancer Prevention Month, and so this comes up, and I thought we'll get Sumit on. Sumit Rai is an expert on early cancer detection. He really was motivated to get involved in all of this. Lost his sister to cancer, and he founded a thing called Cancer Check Labs, and he's the CEO. And we welcome him to your morning wake up. Sumit Rai. Hey, Mr. Rai, good morning. It's good to have you with us.
Good morning. It's good to be here. Thank you.
And you and I are brothers on this side of things. I lost my mother. My mother had cancer 9 different times in her life.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah. My sister, who is still living by God's grace, because she's going to be 72, when she was 12 and 13, those consecutive years. The first year she had a 10-pound cancerous tumor, the second year a 12-pound cancerous tumor. And they gave the doctors back in the 60s said they told my dad to make arrangements. And little by little, here she is. No one knows why. It's a mystery. Cancer is a mystery to everybody, isn't it? You get that C word, it makes you shake in your boots.
For sure. Now, a lot of people don't understand it. Myself, 15 years ago, when my only sibling, my younger sister, Sonia, was diagnosed, I didn't understand it. And, I've learned a tremendous amount about it over the past 15 years with the work that we've done to move the needle on cancer outcomes. But it is something that's very frightening when you're first diagnosed. It's a bit overwhelming. It's a whirlwind and a tornado. You get rushed into a hospital. You get told about this very frightening diagnosis that's obviously life-threatening. It impacts you. It impacts your family. It impacts your friends. You get thrown through treatment cycles that are very aggressive, lots of
Yeah.
medication, and it's just surgeries, radiation, so on and so forth. You're absolutely right.
My sister went through all of it, surgeries, radiation, and chemo all at once, the routine. Um, So, what is this deal with yogurt? And first of all, why would colon cancer be on the rise among young people? Is anybody talking about that?
Yeah, so I mean, colon cancer rates have pretty much doubled in people under 55 over the past 25, 30 years.
Hmm.
And there's many reasons for it. One of the reasons that it's on the rise is because of our lifestyle. We are very sedentary today. We don't
Ah,
move enough. I mean, historically, the human race moved. It was very active, right? We're hunters, gatherers, so on and so
right.
forth. And when you become very sedentary, you expose yourself to metabolic disease, so obesity, diabetes, heart disease. All of these comorbidities impact the probability of cancer. And
Hmm.
so that's one reason we're seeing that is because of developing these comorbidities. And those comorbidities create a breeding ground for erroneous cellular replication. You have to remember that we're living biological organisms. And as living biological organisms, we constantly have cellular turnover. And because we constantly have cellular turnover, old cells die, new cells are formed, old cells die, new cells are formed, so on and so forth throughout our life. And so if you don't have a healthy state within your body because of other conditions, the probability of making an error when those new cells are formed goes up. And that error is a precancerous mutated cell. Now,
Ah,
normally our immune systems kill them. That's why we don't all have, quote, cancer. However, sometimes, unfortunately, our immune system either fails to kill it because it's compromised or those precancerous cells evade it. And when that happens, it gives it the chance to multiply, grow, and a tumor is born. That's sort of one reason. Another reason is we eat too frequently. The human body was not designed to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That is a commercial construct introduced about
yeah.
100 years ago with the advent of grocery stores. The first one being Piggly Wiggly in 1916 to sell cereal boxes and more food and granola bars and over time microwave meals and so on and so forth.
And,
When you
and
eat
didn't the
that
Industrial Revolution kind of play into that too? Where, you're at the factory, you
absolutely,
have a lunch break and all of that?
absolutely. You had the lunch break, but the frequency with which eating is occurring right now, even going 5 meals a day, 6, 7 meals a day, small
Hmm.
meals, that doesn't give your body a chance to go through a critical process known as autophagy. And that basically means auto is self and phagy is eating in Greek, self-eating. That's your body in internal cellular recycling program. That's the method by which your body goes out at that time and says, I'm going to go find underperforming cells and I'm going to break those up for their base amino acids to make new cells that are healthy. And I'm going to find precancerous mutated cells and I'm going to break those up and use their amino acids to use for creation of new cells that are healthy. And so when we're eating that frequently, yes.
Well, is this why we hear, because we've heard this, I have anyway, lately, that how beneficial it is to fast? Fasting intermittently is supposed to be good for you. Is that why?
That's exactly why, yes.
Wow.
So intermittent fasting has impact on autophagy, which is very important. It also has impact on your insulin spikes, which leads into the kind of metabolic syndromes and avoiding a pre-diabetic or diabetic state and making sure that you retain insulin sensitivity, which is very important. I think the third reason that we're seeing it, the first one is really just sort of our activity levels and being sedentary. The second is this lack of autophagy because we're eating so frequently. And the third is just environmental toxicity. There's so many products today that we are exposed to, whether they are food additives. In the U.S. today, we have 10,000 food additives that are approved. In Europe, you have 600.
Yeah.
They're getting banned, like the red color 3, which was recently banned, which took a long time. It's been banned in cosmetics for almost 20, 30 years. They just banned it in food. I don't know why they can put it in lipstick, but they couldn't put it in lipstick, but they can put it in Skittles for young children. And, if you think about the toxicity, even of things that people apply, take acne products, for instance. These are household names: Clearasil, Estee Lauder, Clinique, Target, Up and Up. The active ingredient in that is something known as benzoyl peroxide. Benzoyl peroxide is fine for acne. The one issue is it's not heat stable. It turns into benzene. And benzene is a highly toxic known carcinogen. In fact, it is so toxic that the acceptable limits, depending on the environmental standard, are between 1 to 4 parts per million. These products, when they were tested in independent labs, were generating several hundred to several thousand parts per million. So that is multiple orders of magnitude higher than what you could have exposure for a carcinogen that causes cancer. Now, to make matters worse for this particular topic, who's using these products? Well, primarily
Young
teenagers
people.
going through puberty because they're breaking out. What happens during puberty? Your body surges with growth hormone. What does growth hormone do? It makes things grow. Good cells, bad cells, cancer cells, non-cancer cells. So you're essentially taking this product, you're applying it at thousands of times the concentration that you should, which creates cellular damage, i.e. precancerous mutated cells, while you are surging with growth hormone to make them grow. And these types of factors, especially when they're compounded with one another, obviously are going to increase cancer rates in half.
So I get it. Okay, sedentary lifestyle. Even young people, playing the video games, watching TV, watching the screen, whatever. It's all there in their hand. Okay, sedentary lifestyle. Diet. What else did you say? Oh, stuff in our environmental things. So let's talk about yogurt. Why is yogurt gonna help in colon cancer? What is yogurt? It's just basically milk, kinda, isn't it?
Yeah, I think where they're going with that is, you want a good balance in your gut, right? You want your gut flora, the bacterial balance to be good. And yogurt tends to have probiotics, which are kind of good bacteria for your gut, which kind of blocks out the space for bad bacteria, which can be more damaging and cause cellular damage. So I think the theory there is that if you have a lot of yogurt, because you have so much probiotic, good bacteria, you'll minimize the space available for bad bacteria, which is really the bacteria that's going to cause cellular damage and precancerous mutated cells.
Okay, I want to go back to the food thing because I'm a food guy, and I am famous for having a sweet tooth, buddy. I am so Valentine's Day. Man, I had a sugar buzz and then blang, bang, 3-hour nap. But tell me about this. How many meals should we have then? If not 3, what do you have? 1?
Yeah, you'd have to ask a doctor for medical advice. I can tell you that,
Well, that's true.
it depends on your medical situation, your personal situation. I can speak personally. Personally, I try to have one a day. Certainly try not to have more than two, but I also do extended fast. I do a 120-hour fast at least once a quarter, where you go 5 days without anything but really water.
Holy
And there's
cow.
reasons for that because, your body has two fuel systems, basically. One fuel system is glycogen, which is effectively sugar, glucose, and the other is ketone. Now, in your body, you have about 100 grams of glycogen in your liver and about 400 to 500 grams of glycogen in your musculoskeletal system. And that's what your body prefers to use because it's quick energy, like you pointed to, the sugar. It's a
Yeah.
quick burst of energy. And when you eat, your body just replenishes the glycogen very quickly and keeps using that. What happens when you fast, if we were to kind of walk through that very briefly, that first 24 hours, you're going to deplete your glycogen if you're not eating anything. The second day, your body has a process called gluconeogenesis, or GNG. And what that means is glucose, sugar, new, genesis, creation, the creation of new sugar. Essentially a process by which your body can create glycogen. And it does if you're not eating anything. And the reason it has that gets into evolutionary biology because your brain needs a small amount of glycogen to continue functioning. It's a survival mechanism. But the thing about gluconeogenesis, or GNG, is that it's a very expensive biochemical process. Your body doesn't like to really do it. It wants to minimize how long it'll do it. It'll do it as an emergency stop, but that's kind of it. And so when you hit 48 hours or so and you get into that 72-hour, 3-day period, your body says, this process is way too expensive. I'm going to switch to my backup fuel system, which is ketone. And that's where you hear about things like keto diets and ketosis and paleo and low carb and all this sort of stuff. And what's happening there is your body has stopped using glycogen as a primary fuel system, other than the minimal amount it needs for its brain, and it's shifted to your liver producing ketone from lipids, fats. And so when you have those ketones, your body can run on that. Now, in that state, a lot of interesting things happen at that third point. Number one, your body is a sophisticated biological machine. It's contrary to popular belief, if you don't eat for a couple of days, your body is not going to go and eat up healthy heart tissue. You are not going to have massive muscle loss, which is a myth that's purported by the bodybuilding industry to sell protein powders every 3 hours. What's really going to happen is your body's going to kick off massive amounts of autophagy. It's going to go look for underperforming cells, like in your liver, and say, let's destroy these and use these base amino acids to build new cells because we're not eating protein and we're not getting the amino acids from protein. Let's go find precancerous cells. So the rate of autophagy accelerates exponentially in that period. And what's also interesting is your body simultaneously spikes growth hormone in order to retain muscle mass. And so what happens now is you have autophagy going at an exponential rate. You're breaking out bad cells, precancerous mutated cells, underperforming cells, and you have growth hormone helping to build new healthy cells. And that's why you do extended fast.
This is so interesting to me, but so to get through a fast, you drink tons and tons of water, right? Because what do you do when you get that? And it is absurd. I mean, it's not like you're going to walk in the park figuratively through a fast. It's going to be hard. I suppose as you get used to it, though, it gets easier. I mean, I fast during Lent. I'm a Catholic. I fast, from time to time, but nothing like you're talking.
Yes. So I think, a couple of things. One, you'll do water and perhaps some basic electrolytes, a little bit of magnesium, perhaps some salt for some sodium and chloride, but no food really. And then the second thing is the hunger pangs will last for a couple of days, but then they sort of go away. And the reason they go away is because, there's something known as ghrelin, which is effectively a hunger hormone. It's insulin's cousin. And so when you don't eat and your insulin doesn't spike, your ghrelin doesn't either. And so if your ghrelin stays low, you generally will not get hungry. It'll suppress your appetite. And so you'll go through that first couple of days of, I'm feeling a little hungry. You're going through this transition. Sometimes they call it the keto flu, where your body's switching from glycogen to ketones. But once that hits occurs, the hunger element of this becomes fairly easy to manage.
I'll be darned. This is, I had no idea we would learn all of this. Sumit Rai, early cancer detection expert. His Cancer Check Labs is your company, I guess cancerchecklabs.com probably, huh?
That's correct, cancerchecklabs.com.
You doing a podcast, stuff like that? We can get some of this information on a regular basis?
Yes, we're setting one up right now, and so I will be hosting a podcast very soon. If you want to learn more about that, you can follow us on social media. Follow us
Hmm.
at Cancer Check Labs, and follow us or follow me as well. It's Sumit Rai Cancer on Instagram. That's SUMITRAICANCER. Sumit Rai Cancer, and then Cancer Check Labs. And you'll learn about our podcast, and we can learn more information about how to prevent cancer, minimize your risk,
Yeah.
tips for what to do, and so on and so forth.
Real quick though, you said you have like maybe one meal a day. What time of day do you have that?
I tend to eat later in the day. I tend to wake up in the morning. I don't generally have breakfast. I generally just get to work, and during the day, and I stay busy with work. And then by the end of the day, I'm feeling a little hungry, and that's usually when I'll eat. But I
Yeah.
think the timing of it is less important than the frequency.
I gotcha. Yeah, I know a lot of people in Europe. I know in Poland when we were over there, everybody ate a big meal. Their big meal was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then at night,
Sure.
you may had a little cup of soup and a piece of bread or something, if that. That was dinner.
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
There's a lot of European, cultures that practice that type of eating style, and I think that comes from history, and I think that's what's worked for them. Because again, the human race lived in periods of feast and famine historically. We didn't
Yeah.
eat multiple meals a day, right? We were hunters. Yeah, if we hunted and we gathered and we had food, we ate, and if we didn't, we didn't. And so
And
there was sort
even
of these four states of famine for autophagy.
and I even think when we became more agrarian and raising our own food on a regular basis, I don't think we ate like we eat now, obviously. Because it
Correct. I
took
think we
work.
worked
You
more
had to,
effectively.
yeah, it took a lot of work to put meal on the table. I like this. This is another reason I want a homestead. But
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
probably
yeah.
starve
Avoid the
completely.
sedentary automatically, right? Naturally.
Yeah, you got to work. Oh, you're working out. Sumit, this is great. I hope we can stay in touch. You're an interesting cat. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
All right. See you later.